KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. This is that very special time of week for our longtime listeners. Get very excited. But for those who are just, finding out about this and wanting to take part here, now is your golden opportunity. Because, of course, this is Friday. Free for All Friday is on deck for us, which means we'll have open lines throughout both hours of the program here, taking on all subjects here. It's kind of the pressure relief valve for the week, because as has been creeping in increasingly here, there's a lot more than we can even get to, with all the airtime we have, but also with the focus that we have, because there's so much more that affects us here in the borderland than we could ever really hope to get to with just 2 hours a day. So this is that time of the week when we will take on all of those ideas here. Keep it clean if you're calling in, but you can certainly leave your calls, leave your messages. We got some of those pound 250 things, some of those other messages coming up here. So if you're calling in during the show, just the number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Again, we will take on all subjects here. Just again, remember the decorum. Well, really, the 7 deadly words that you got to worry about when you're online here are some likes, comments, tune-ins coming in over on the social media. Flauca Jimenez dropping that like, do appreciate it. More tuning in, and welcome to Chime in over there on those social pages as well. Again, it's a benefit there. You're always able to comment during our programs as long as, the internet's working, basically. But also, again, we are taking those phone calls throughout here. So all those ways, all these subjects here. One thing I just want to put out there before we get to the phone lines here, but we will shortly, don't worry. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Just because it's been simmering in the background, this is very specific to our area, but still probably important, just ever so slightly. Property taxes and the tax rates, very much in focus again after, those letters start going out in the last couple of weeks here. And now there is an item to be discussed next week in El Paso City Council about, reducing the overall property tax rate. Now, you may recall from, the last tax cycle that we were dealing with locally anyway, with the city and the county, 2 different tangents were taken there. The city took we're going to keep the property tax rates flat, and they did. But of course, with there being a lot of increases, I mean, again, some people I'm hearing from saying that they're looking at tens of percents per year, amounting to 30 to 50% over the last several years, 5+ in some cases, of property tax, of valuation increases, and therefore the party have to pay for it. Of course, here, the county, on the other hand, kept a revenue neutral budget, meaning that they actually did technically lower the rate, even if you, probably ended up paying about the same here, but they dropped their property tax rate here. Now, of course, there were different stories with many of the other particular taxing indices. I mean, school boards come to mind here as well. But again, that's going to be a discussion happening next week, being put on the agenda by District 5 City Rep Isabel Salcido for next Tuesday. So you can bet your bottom dollar we're going to be focusing on that, because it might cost you your bottom dollar. Also noted being co-sponsored by Cassandra Hernandez and Henry Rivera city reps here. So that'll have more focus on here. Average home values in the area, according to the executive director of the El Paso Central Appraisal District, Dina Kilgore, 18 to 20%. Pretty hefty. Yeah. So let's get to those phone lines now. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Jerry, Northwest.
Hey there, Jerry. What's on your mind?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the property tax. I have a question for the county commissioners and all them. I don't live in the city proper, so I can't question or have them look into this.
Okay.
But do you remember a few months ago, we were talking about this with BlackRock coming in and buying all the properties, but they're buying a premium price. There was no negotiation. cash on the barrelhead. You asking $250,000 for that trailer house out there? Here you go. That's $250,000.
Yeah, they'll take three. Exactly.
Right. So what does that do to the property tax for everybody else?
I mean,
does that increase it?
In short, yes. I mean, the reason we are seeing these property values go up here, it's not that everyone has been, I mean, sure, there was a little bit of home improvement fever a little earlier on in the whole lockdown season for the pandemic, but more specifically, we are seeing these prices increase because of the demand in the market, that these valuations, more specifically to be accurate, are going up because, well, the demand is seen going up and therefore they are fetching higher prices. So, yeah, exactly. If there is this, outside forces, shall we say, as you're describing there, but more broadly, that are pumping up the costs here in El Paso. I mean, this isn't just BlackRock, but they are certainly a part of it. We're also seeing out-of-town people. I remember someone, I want to say probably within the last year or so, there was things being posted online about prices going on in El Paso, and there were very specifically people from, like, say, California saying, oh my God, that looks so cheap, that's so much house, from, sure, their perspective where, you know, like a 2-bedroom goes for $1 million plus. Sure, this could seem attractive. I understand that. And there's been some of that, but that all compounds to, yeah, more demand. Therefore, you got more people chasing fewer properties and the amount they're willing to offer over it. I mean, there have been a lot of humorous skits out there being like, oh, I'll buy this. I'll offer $50,000 over. Well, I'm sorry, you got beat by someone, an all cash offer, and they're giving their kidney to them as a donor, which is humorous, but only like just outside the realm of what's been actually happening.
Yeah. Okay. But how do we prove that affected this, and what can we do about it?
That's a good question.
Yes, and me as the retired old military guy, 1 foot in the grave, I don't have the money to go out and hire a lawyer to prove all this. But if we work as a team or as a group out there of property tax owners or property owners, can we hire somebody to investigate this and see did the effect of BlackRock or one of them big organizations coming in affect the prices of the property tax? And is that fair to us own property owners or small property owners to have the big guy with the big money come in and take that other property that was next door and pay premium price and raise my property values, 20%?
In short, I'm sure it might be possible, but I'm not sure in the long run here, non-legal advice here, that this would be the outcome you want here, because even if there is outside influence being shown here, essentially you start ending up with a tragedy, the commons kind of issue. Like, sure, this may seem unfair, but is it strictly prohibited? I think probably. I get your point here and what you're concerned about. Probably the best way to go about this will be that, okay, let's just put it this way. Property valuations on their own have no ultimate impact on how much you pay in taxes. The real ultimate impact comes from the taxing entity. So this conversation is going to be going on with city council will be a start of it, not affecting you as much here since you said you're not in the city proper, but that kind of an idea of taking it to your elected officials in these taxing entities. Again, as a reminder there, city council is, of course, a big one, but the biggest ones end up usually being the school boards here. So they're also a very important part of it. And I think a bit overlooked here outside of the, curriculum issues we've been discussing a bit, that's had a bit more focus here, but also given the whole bond issues that keep coming up. And there's been a lot of focus on those. That the last Kenya Tia one, I'm sure, had a lot of eyes on it. And I doubt that'll be the end of it anytime soon. So go ahead.
It failed, and yet my property tax went up $200. So what's the deal? I know I'm asking you. That's a rhetorical question.
I mean, yeah.
I know you can't answer that right now, or even know anything about my situation. But I want to know, right? The Canyon Teal bond failed.
Correct.
So our property tax should not have raised that much. $200 in a year, 20%. It's more than 20% because I really wasn't paying a whole lot in property taxes, but it went up $200, increased my house payment $200 every month. every month.
Well, I guess, again, not knowing your specific situation, but that even outside of a bond, which would have a specific tax increase with it or a supporting one along with it, there are still, well, let's just call it regular tax increases or rate increases, or even if they kept them the same, increased amounts of property tax being collected on that increasing valuation from, well, keeping those rates flat here. So this is, again, why it's important to stay aware of who is going into these elected official positions, because they will be determining these rates. And it doesn't just take a bond issue or a major, ballot initiative kind of thing for tax rates to change. About the only thing that has really changed for, well, when it comes to, the municipalities and the counties, is that there is that rollback rate. I'm not 100% positive if that does apply to school boards. I'm going to assume it does, but let me check into that because I've never actually had that question asked to me before articulating it here.
Okay.
But if there are tax rates raising of 3.5% or more over the previous years, that would then trigger it being it goes to the ballot and the voter decides here, which is why you tend to see, well, for city and county purposes anyway, a lot of just under that level. Now, whether the appetite will be there or not, I'm kind of guessing it won't be in this election cycle in any case, in these current economic conditions, because anyone saying, oh yeah, your property taxes went up and you're going to pay more in tax rates, have fun out there, that sounds like a one-way ticket to getting kicked out of office in the short term anyway.
Yeah, and in the meantime, we're going to have a lot of failures of people not being able to make their house payments, which is going to do what to the economy, local economy?
Yeah, the long-term impacts of it are concerning, but the one other thing I will put in your ear about this is that we do have that impending. Early voting starts Monday, as I want to say John Braslett pointed out a little bit earlier this week, for that Texas constitutional amendment election, the regular and uniform one that's coming up here. This is not the primary runoff, just to make that perfectly clear, because it can get a little confusing, but this upcoming election will include two of those for anyone here on the Texas side of our audience here, going to be able to vote on two propositions, one that changes the formula for, well, how education is funded here in Texas, and also will change how, well, homestead exemptions are calculated, upping that deduction level. So if these are of primary concern to you, and I'm sure that there are others out in the audience who are sharing similar concerns here, I want to say Jay Viscotti saying pledging $100 to your effort here as you're describing it when you're talking about that joint effort. Again, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there with this level of concern. Just keep that in mind. I mean, look into these issues for yourself here and make your decision. But this probably, at least in my analysis and by others that I've been reading, probably will have an impact on these exact issues you're talking about going forward.
When is that county meeting and where's it at? And I'm asking everybody that's listening, let's show up down there in the force. There's strength in numbers, and I'm sure we're all pissed off enough to go down there and raise hell with them and tell them to get their head out of their rectum and quit allowing these companies come in here and take advantage of things and basically turn a decent community into a hellhole.
So, okay, just to make it clear, the one I was referencing here is the upcoming city one here, and that's going to be on Tuesday down at City Hall here. But if you're wanting to know about the county meetings, I want to say, let me just get it perfectly correct here for you. We got the ones coming up. I want to say those are on Mondays, but that'll be happening at the El Paso County Courthouse. Yeah, Monday, 9:30 a.m., El Paso County Courthouse, third floor, room 303. If you want to start bringing those up. They do take a public comment as well.
25th? The 25th?
Yeah, that'll be this coming Monday. Again, separate from the one I mentioned at the very top of the show, but they do have those regular meetings as well. That, again, redress of concerns to elected officials is just kind of important to our system of government.
Well, again, property tax owners, if we don't show up out there, and explain to them how they work for us, they're going to keep on putting their boot on our neck. So either show up or shut up. So thank you, Andrew. You can tell I'm a little upset. You have a good day.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that, but I appreciate you articulating as you can and giving us a point of discussion on this, because it is, just a little bit important here. So I do appreciate the point in the call here. Went a little bit long on this one, as we have been lately. We've been delving into some issues, but we are, again, doing that at this point in the week here. This is the time of the week when you call in with all of your comments and concerns here. A lot of comments coming in. Joey Carlson, Maria Coleman, Jay Visconti, John Brazelton, and more tuning in, chiming in. Maria addressing another issue happening statewide. Prayers for the National Guardsman who drowned today. Please remember his family and loved ones here, and some more commentary about that here. Plus, more on some of these other bond issues. But again, this is the point of the week when we take on all of these comments and calls here. So we'll get more into that. We have some updates coming out here, some more tweets and updates from other elected officials across the state, plus just a whole lot more going on here. So if you want to call in during the show, again, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544 KTSM. We'll be back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Checking El Paso traffic, I-10 eastbound at Artcraft. You've got a stalled vehicle blocking the left shoulder. Right shoulder's blocked at I-10 westbound at Red. Delays on the 10 eastbound from the 375 to the 54 Patriot, 7-minute delays. On Mesa Street from downtown up to the I-10 westbound, it's a 5-minute delay. And you got a crash with injuries, dire, just south of Hondo Pass at Maxwell Avenue. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Are you ready for an unparalleled work experience where you see your impact every day? GDIT is hiring bilingual English-Spanish customer service representatives to deliver critical support to the government. $500 sign-on bonus available for select positions. Apply now at gdit.com/El Paso jobs.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. A staggering 8 million tons of plastic ends up in the world's oceans every year. If current trends continue, our oceans could contain more plastic than fish by 2050. Do your part. Purchase items made from renewable or recycled content and recycle whenever possible. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know life's moments are definitely better together.
And Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to always be ready to make the most of these moments.
Whether in studio, on the red carpet, or around the house, having the confidence to get close is amazing.
Our lives are better together with Smart Mouth. Just 2 rinses a day means fresh breath for 24 hours.
Find it at your favorite drug, grocery, or supercenter store, or save 20% at smartmouth.com/.
Help DEA keep our community safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, April 30th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your family medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. To find a collection site near you, visit DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. Visit DEATakeback.com. That's DEATakeback.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/trial. That's ZipRecruiter.com/trial.
City streets or small towns, everyone deserves a clean, green community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Let's do beautiful things. Visit KAB.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to get at the show, particularly on a day like today, which is just that little thing we like to call Free for All Friday, where we are taking your comments and calls throughout both hours of the show. So, of course, we've got a lot of comments coming in over on the social media here. Flaco Jimenez, Maria Coleman, Joey Carlson, Jay Visconti, John Brazelton, if I didn't already say that, and a whole lot more there. So you can chime in over there. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is the places you can find us, usually under the name of Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Under, one of those places and all of those places here. But also, you can also call in during the show because we have those phone lines open throughout both hours of the program here. 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. That's the number to call, and we'll have that open throughout both hours and taking on all subjects here today. Usually kind of Monday through Thursday, I guess you could say. We are pretty much focused on, well, what does it mean here in the borderland and those big issues here? Not that we ignore what's going on more nationally, so to speak here, but we're really just very focused on what exactly is the drawdown at the very least, I guess is another way you could put it. But really here at this point, there's just more than we can even focus on during that. So if you got a comment, concern, a burning question that you just want to get out there kind of issue, now is the time to do so. And when we make it available, again, just keep it clean if you're calling in, the deadly words and all, because we will dump it if we have to. But otherwise, that number to call again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Some jokes. We got jokes here today, among other things. Fucking Menace, why did the Mexican cross the road? Because the chicken said, "Paka." Bad chicken impression there. Anyway, RJ also saying a scam alert, news warning telemarketers asking for donations for the El Paso Fire Department. Fire doesn't use the phone for donations here. Anything unsolicited coming your way these days should come with a big red warning flag for yourself here. I mean, there have been the traditional ones going around here of, oh, can you donate stuff? Again, just some of the ones I've been getting targeted as, both as probably an individual and person that has a phone being the requisite here, and also through the company has been, oh, hey, can you go and buy a bunch of gift cards for us? That has led to a couple of security trainings, not even just on this end, but I think in major corporations across the country. But also anything involving where you get donations, anything. I mean, I've gotten those calls about, oh, do you want to donate to undefined, say, police officers fund? And I'm sure there are some legitimate ones out there, but let's just say that a lot of the ones calling you unsolicited may or may not have actually anything to do with it. It might be a service that has said, well, all of this stuff going on is, they may have some relationship with it, but maybe collecting way more than they're actually giving them. Basically, when it comes down to it, for your charity purposes, donate directly and through sources you find. That's the better way to do it. And anyone calling you asking for any unsolicited information that you did not specifically ask them to do, just hang up that phone, among other things, and then call a direct source that you find in your own way. That's just good policy these days. And just stay safe, and it sounds too good to be true, all that kind of stuff. It probably is here. So yeah, pretty important with all of this here. Again, we got a lot of stuff coming up electorally in these coming days here. Again, early voting for the May 7th regular and uniform election. We got, again, municipal and some other school boards across the state. None here. Well, there are some specific local areas with elections here, but primarily for the state of Texas, we got those constitutional amendments here. And also, important, Monday is the deadline to register to vote for the May 24th primary runoff election here, in which we got, a number of them on the ballot that you'll be able to vote for locally, including, among other things, some of those county commissioner seats, just as a side note here. So those are important things to keep in mind. Make sure you know what is coming up here and what's going to be on the ballot, as well as, again, those runoff candidates that we are going to be doing a little bit more talk as we get closer to it. But, just some interesting, Attorney General, Land Commissioner, Railroad Commissioner, that very interesting race that we discussed here briefly, along with some other state house and Senate seats as on both sides of the ballot, actually, here. Attorney General contested in both circumstances. So just keep it in mind. Make sure you know what you're going to be able to vote for. And one question that keeps coming up, if you didn't vote in the initial primary, can you vote in the runoff? Yes, you can vote in either. But if you voted in the primary, you have to stick with the party that you chose there. Yeah, that's one of the boxes you check, that you say that you will only vote in this primary, this party's primary, through the remainder of this election cycle. So again, for the primary elections, you can do whatever the heck you want in the general election, but you got to stick with the one that brought you. Maybe not totally the right analogy here, among other things. Getting some questions about why our station isn't reporting on other things. We handle what we do on this show here, and we trust the rest of our hosts on this station to cover some of these other issues. Dory Carlson bringing up some concerns with a comment that will not fit on screen here. I think I got cut off, as a matter of fact, for our character limit here, but concerns about food shortages here and claiming some malfeasance specifically. I'm not saying I totally rule that out, but something I've been saying since the start of, the pandemic and all of these after effects is that Not necessarily that things will get worse, but instability is increasing, and instability tends to breed further instability. I mean, once you take one good whack to a system, it makes it that much more susceptible to future ones. You can think of it kind of like if you want to, go to old movies, where they're using a battering ram on a door. That first hit might not seem like it does much, but the culmination of hits and each further hit weakens that much further, meaning that eventually there could be a breakthrough. And you can kind of writ a little bit more largely what's going on with global systems and all of that. But there's actually a further interesting point here. We've been talking a little bit about maybe the bifurcation or even further splitting up of the global economic and trade order in this, new era we're entering. The whole phrase of a peaceful coexistence coming back up as seeming maybe a trajectory starting on, but there's actually been some pushback from a surprising source. The Communist Party of China, among other things here. So tell you what, we're already due for that next break, going a little bit long in some of our segments here. We'll get into that here in the next segment, because them actually not wanting that to happen is, not one I would have called, but we'll get into those implications and a whole lot more coming out of this break. Again, this is Friday here on the show, meaning we're taking your calls throughout both hours. So if you're wanting to call in, again, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. More comments, calls, and all that good stuff on this line after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Whatever is going on with travel, trade, and all that good stuff here, something that you can rely on to get those, pretty amazing flavors from around the world, but still straight from your local source, is by going to Enhanced Flavors, because they are your local source of over 40 quality flavored olive oils, balsamic vinegars, and extra virgin olive oils. They're olive oils imported from some of the best places in the world for this kind of thing that they're not as much worry about stuff coming in, including from Tunisia, Italy, Greece, and Spain, plus all of their balsamic vinegars straight from the Modena province of Italy. Otherwise, it can't be called balsamic vinegar. Very important detail there. So again, if you want to find them, they're going to be out there both at the Upper Valley Arts and Farmers Market, which happens Sundays there at Crossroads area, Doniphan, and Mesa. But even beyond that, you can definitely find them online at enhancedflavors.com. Plus, they are going to be out at the Lavinia Wine Fest, so look for them out there, because you can try and sample some of these. I mean, they got some really good ones. Their garlic flavored olive oil is one of my favorites, because it really adds that nice kick to your food, can really help spice up your life. Plus, it's just delicious, and your family will appreciate it here. But beyond that, again, enhancedflavors.com is the place to find them and find their full selection. Again, enhanced with a D, flavors.com.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 news update. A Texas National Guard member drowned while trying to rescue a group of migrants who tried to cross the Rio Grande in the area of Eagle Pass, Texas. The sheriff of Maverick County says the tragic incident happened this morning at about 8:30. According to the sheriff, a small group of migrants was crossing the Rio Grande when a woman from the group started to drown. The soldier is said to be 23 years old, but has not been identified. And El Paso Federal Bureau of Investigations agents and the U.S. Border Patrol El Paso sector rescued 24 people who were being held against their will. The FBI and U.S. Border Patrol officials said they continue to see an increase in crimes involving kidnapping for ransom, extortion crimes directly affecting undocumented immigrants who have paid human smugglers to bring them across the U.S.-Mexico border, and their family members in the U.S. or their country of origin. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 news update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Got some stop-and-go traffic on your Friday in El Paso, starting with I-10 westbound out in the low valleys, starting at road FM 1110 all the way into Horizon, 18-minute delays. Injury accident, Piedras in Wyoming downtown, take Missouri or Montana as alternates. El Paso fires at the scene of a big crash, Yarborough northbound at the 10 Gateway. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Friday is the big day for our wind maker to arrive, and I'm talking about some areas dealing with wind gusts over 60 miles an hour. There will be a high wind warning for your Friday afternoon, plus a wind advisory. We're looking at very strong winds, blowing dust, and dangerous fire weather conditions.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Are you ready for an unparalleled work experience experience where you see your impact every day. GDIT is hiring bilingual English-Spanish customer service representatives to deliver critical support to the government. $500 sign-on bonus available for select positions. Apply now at gdit.com/El Paso Jobs.
Hey, spring is here, and the warmer weather means you've got a lot more going on. Don't let COVID get in the way of any of it. COVID vaccines offer the strongest possible protection now and from long-term effects in the future. Protect yourself and your plans. We can do this. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, Phil Swift here for the Flex Seal family of products. You know, there's a lot of ways to protect your home. You could dig a moat. You could bubble wrap it. Or you could train a pack of wolves to protect it. But the best way is with the Flex Seal family of products. So when you need to patch, bond, seal, repair, and stop leaks fast, get the Flex Seal family of products. Available at flexsealproducts.com and fine retailers.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso. Weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And let's talk El Paso.
Before your day is done, BrakeMasters has already helped thousands of people get back to their families safely. Get your vehicle in BrakeMasters shape. Download coupons at BrakeMasters.com. Only then can you say your day is done.
BrakeMasters. We give you an honest break.
This report is sponsored by BrakeMasters.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff that we'll be getting to here as we, take on all the subjects we do today, because Friday is the time for Free-for-All Friday, meaning we'll take on all of those comments and calls throughout both hours of the show here. So that number to call if you want to chime in that way, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM, plus a lot of comments coming in over on the social media pages. RJ, Joey Carlson, Flauco Jimenez, Maria Kalman, John Brazelton, Dave Visconti, among others tuning in, chiming in. Juan and Flauco Jimenez also dropping those likes, which we appreciate. Facebook is not a total goal, but it helps with the algorithmic stuff here. So if you do so, like us, share us, tell a friend, all that good stuff, we appreciate it in the long run here. RJ with a couple of other comments on the whole food situation, saying that Union Pacific has slowed down transporting nitrogen fertilizer. Food shortages are on the way. Truly get ready for it. I'm not saying it's ever a bad time to consider gardening. If it weren't for this impending move we're looking at, probably would have ramped it up myself this year. But, I mean, Victory Gardens used to be a concept. And, well, the idea of more local production here, I mean, we've had some interviews along these lines about local food systems probably going to be increasingly important in the long run here. And also RJ commenting on that news update from the bottom of the hour there. I mean, there's been even more impacts when you want to talk about border issues. CBP announcing that they had in 3 different stops more than about 100 pounds, I think about 130 pounds of methamphetamine seized, along with more arrests. And there were more stash out busts here. So we definitely got a lot of issues when it comes to border issues writ large here. But let's go back to the phone lines right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Right now we do have Bill in the Anthony area here right now. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, when they stopped the trucks over there in Santa Rosa, so they couldn't come across and stuff,
Yeah.
Beto O'Rourke gets on the TV and says they did that for no reason at all and this and that. And, he was real down on the people that, shut the borders down. Well, the part of that newscast that he was talking in, and he even said it, was that they fined over 1,000 truckers from Mexico that weren't legal to drive on our streets. And so, so that was something good that came out of there. And I think that they ought to do that much more often, is look for the safety features of the trucks coming over to the United States and making sure they have insurance and like that, That's what I think.
I mean, it's kind of been not exactly even an open secret, because I think secret would be a wrong part to use of it here. I mean, ever since I've been on the road here in our local area, ever since I got my driver's license and then my own vehicle, I was basically told, make sure you have that uninsured or underinsured motorist insurance part of it here, because odds are that you're going to get hit by someone. So I think this, again, secret would be the wrong way to put it here, but maybe not as much focused on. So I think some people have said that from the other perspective, that this is a serendipity, a happy coincidence, even if it wasn't the total focus of these enhanced screenings that the Governor Greg Abbott ordered as part of there. And of course, I mean, I wasn't surprised at all that O'Rourke decided to ramp up his criticism on that, even if he ended up agreeing with the governor in a weird way on the whole Title 42 issue, about that removing it right now without a plan in place is a bad thing. I never really expected to be able to say agreement of these two individuals, O'Rourke and Abbott, in a sentence and not have it sound ridiculous. But, well, I guess that's just the times we live in right now.
Yeah, that's true. But the safety factor is probably one of the most important things, because that affects us all, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I have to say. Appreciate your show. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. It's an interesting one to mention out here. And again, one that we kind of deal with daily on the roads here. I feel like you either see the Mexico or the New Mexico plates. I drive a little bit more carefully. No dig on you from the new arrow from the Anthony area, but let's just say I see some interesting things, particularly when heading into the land of enchantment. So you have a good one there. Thank you for the point and the call here. More comments coming in. Michael Pett is posting a link to one of those stories being mentioned, I think, by Joey Carlson here. But again, let's go back to those phone lines right now. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. I was just calling on a specific topic. Remember this week, a federal judge in Florida lifted the mandates on airlines and TSA and transportation. And we saw these people on the flights rejoicing and just taking their masks off. That was great. And then a day or so later, Fauci was on CNN Plus, which has now gone down.
Right.
And he was saying how he was disappointed that it wasn't a judicial issue, that was really a public health issue, and that they were going to reconsider lifting the mask in a few weeks. They should have waited. So he was encouraging the Biden administration to file a lawsuit, which they did. And if we reflect back, and he's saying it's a public health issue, when the FDA, we had two top vaccine regulators quit their jobs because they said that their jobs had become too politicized, and the CDC was getting involved in issues that they shouldn't have. And that was regarding the boosters that the FDA had not approved, but the Biden administration jumped over their authority and said they wanted the boosters. So eventually they did get approved, but we lost two top vaccine regulators in that incident. And then you had a gentleman regarding Alzheimer's on your show. You interviewed him.
Yes.
Their Alzheimer's.
The Alzheimer's Association of El Paso, or West Texas chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. Yes.
Yes. Well, now, and what I'm getting at is it a health issue? A public health issue, or is it a political issue? Because the Alzheimer's, the Medicare and Medicaid has now told a specific company that they're not going to approve the drug, which is a promising drug for Alzheimer's treatment, but they're not approving it because they're saying they're approving too many costly drugs. And the CDC is also mentioned in this dilemma. So, it's like, okay, it's supposed to be a public health issue, but Fauci goes in there and then it's politicized. Things are politicized. So who are we to believe? The mask mandates were lifted and shouldn't have, because the judicial system does not have authority over the CDC. And is the CDC supposed to be the last word on everything regarding public health? Apparently not, because we had 2 top officials quit their jobs because it had become politicized. And Fauci's been out there not wanting to get the masks, and it's not based on science. We've heard enough about science. So he's politicized everything at the CDC. So we need to be careful and cautious what we believe and who we listen to, especially when they're trying to sway us one way or the other, because it's been politics as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion. It's been politics for a long time when Fauci's gotten involved in it. And these are just some of the examples that I'm noticing. You know, that drug for Alzheimer's, who's to say it's too expensive? It's Medicare, Medicaid. We pay for all that all our lives, right? I mean, every month we see deduction on our paycheck for Medicare. So I don't understand why the Medicare and Medicaid services can make a decision and say, well, you know what, it's going to cost people too much money. Well, try asking us. And that's when I start thinking, right to try. You know, President Trump did that, right to try. I don't know what avenue people have to use that, explore that, and see if they can use it with these Alzheimer drugs or any other drug that you think may help. So those are my comments today about the CDC and Fauci.
I mean, I think unfortunately, an increasing amount of people are going to agree with you in your assessment there. Not that it's unfortunate that that's correct, but unfortunately, that people are having to come around to that, frankly, because I mean, even one of the more recent things before this of the whole lessening of standards, even on just the whole quarantining period that just happened to coincide with some of the early elections and the lead into election season here for almost no real discernible reason, except for it's frustrating. And I think all of this in combination leads to some of the historic lows in beliefs in very important institutions, because the firm, founding principles of things like the CDC, the FDA, the FAA, and all of these are very important, and they have very important jobs to do. So if people, because of the actions of these agencies and not because necessarily of, the goal and the mission of it, are starting to say like, well, I don't know if I really believe what's going on there. I mean, we've had plenty of scandals and issues and confidence issues. I mean, you want to talk about air travel, you got the whole Boeing MAX issue that has been going on for a while now about how that was approved. And then, of course, with the CDC, all of this stuff. So we have historically low confidence in these institutions, which is much to our detriment, because there are some very critical things that are still handled by these. But if people are just like, well, I don't know if I believe it, I mean, that's just a crisis of a different level, but it's not something that they're doing a whole lot to remedy at this point, I do feel like.
Well, people like Fauci who have spent 40 years in public service, they have to have term limits too. There's got to be a limit on everything people are doing, because they get so embedded and then they become so arrogant and not introverted, but so expressive about what they want done. And it's not they get to where it's not in the public interest anymore. They become desensitized to the public needs. And then they, put their 2 cents in and affect everything that affects the public. So we need to change the bureaucracy.
Yeah, the inside-outside perspective I think you're talking about there. Once you get too insular, I think might be what you're more talking about than this, too kind of wrapped up in your own thinking without any kind of breath of fresh air, so to speak. It gets, you lose perspective, simply put. And the lack of that and the lack of people, I think, focus on the mission as opposed to, I mean, every administration has had its own, well, we want these goals and we expect you to support us kind of thing, particularly for the people they appoint to these. But I think it has gotten to a level where maybe there should be even more this sounds crazy to then select more of a political process for this, but maybe even more confirmations for these kind of high-level, even non-cabinet positions, because the idea of there being people in there that are, well, selected because they will agree with whoever's in charge, as opposed to, evaluation and consent based on their actual merits. I don't know. That may be a bad solution, but it's the best one I got off at the top of my head anyway.
Well, they just don't want any oversight over their departments, and that's what it is. And Rand Paul has exposed that. They don't want that supervision and oversight or anybody else's input in decisions that affect everybody. So that's dangerous.
Yeah, there's
that much power.
There's just been when the time I've spent in DC, both professionally and personally, there's definitely a whole lot of small kings of small hills, so to speak, that are they're in charge of their own little area, and boy, howdy, is it going to be your problem if you come and mess with their area, but that can also go much larger into whole agencies like you're describing there.
Yes, it becomes their kingdom.
Absolutely. So, again, maybe bad solutions only on my top of my head, but there might be some better ones needing to be looked at. Again, the general principle I like here is that sunshine for government is one of the best disinfectants. So, having free, open access to information and also exposing what's going on and not letting it stay behind closed doors are generally good principles, and those might be better solutions off the top of my head to deal with some of this.
That's true. Thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. You have a great weekend.
You too as well. Appreciate the call. You have a good one there. All right, that's going to lead us into our next break here already. I know we got a couple more calls in the line, and we will keep getting to those, more calls and comments as well here. So again, if you wanted to call in during the show, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We will be back right after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Free for All Friday is on deck. So give us that call if you want to. Again, 915-544-5876. Back after this break with more. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
It's stop and go bumper to bumper traffic on the I-10 westbound in the Low Valley from FM 1110 Road to Horizon with 21-minute delays. On the 10 southbound at Trans Mountain, there's a crash there that's blocking the left lane and causing delays. Expect slowing. Fairbanks Drive at Rushing Road, you got an injury accident there. Take Sun Valley Drive to get around it. It's Kerry Edwards, El Paso Traffic.
This report is sponsored by General Dynamics Information Technology.
Are you ready for an unparalleled work experience where you see your impact every day? GDIT is hiring bilingual English-Spanish customer service representatives to deliver critical support to the government. $500 sign-on bonus available for select positions. Apply now at gdit.com/El Paso Jobs.
Hey Locomotive fans, join us on Saturday, April 23rd at Southwest University Park for our final home match in April. The Locos look to uproot Oakland FC in USL Championship action. Start your game day at Later for the official pre-match party and get here when gates open at 6:30 p.m. to snag a limited edition game day poster before they're gone. Kickoff is set for 7:30 p.m. Find your tickets at eplocomotivefc.com. Vamos El Paso.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic, but if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. That's your regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is the leading cancer killer, but can be prevented with regular screenings starting at age 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
This is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you, El Paso and surrounding areas, for helping us be El Paso's #1 dealer in new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram sales in March. As a gesture of our gratitude, we've extended all our Ram Truck Month deals like 0 down, 0% interest for 72 months and no payments for 90 days.
Buy now and save thousands on a huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned vehicles. 2022 Ram trucks with 0 APR for 72 months. All new 2022 Jeep Wagoneer, full-size SUV with third-row seating. 0 APR for 72 months. 0 payments for 90 days. We've partnered with even more aggressive lenders with great rates and terms, even if your credit is less than perfect. And we want your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Sunland Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Where buying a car is fun. At I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina, El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 0 APR is $13.89 per thousand finance. Also like vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Staples has your workspace covered with functional furniture and organizational items curated by Staples Work From Home Style Squad. This week, save up to $100 on select chairs. In-store only offer ends 4/30, limit 2. Explore solutions for your workspace at Staples, the working and learning store.
The Lavinia Spring Wine Festival is April 30th and May 1st. Info at laviniawinery.com.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing. So a lot of ways to interact with the show, even as we're coming up on the end of this first hour. Don't worry, we got a whole other one on tap for you here plus a lot more focus on your comments and calls that comes along with this whole Friday thing that we do. Free for all Friday, your comments and calls throughout the show. Your Flauca Jimenez saying, in El Paso, yellow means caution, especially when it's on a license plate. What's the vaguely rhyming phrase I know? Plates of yellow, be a cautious fellow. Plates of teal, hold on to that wheel. Plates of black, watch your back, Jack. They may be stretching it a little bit here, and the rhymes don't totally work, but you get the idea as the way, again, what I was taught growing up here. If you're driving carefully, then consider yourself exempt from this. But what's another stat out there? That like 60 to 70% of people think that they're above average driver out there, which is slightly statistically impossible. So reevaluate yourself and just drive safe. Be friendly out there. Okay, let's go back to those phone lines here. Got time for at least one more call before we hit that top of the hour here. Again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Do have Raul in the Northeast on the line here with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Property values go up based on past sales prices.
Mm-hmm.
The two homes to my north were sold in the last couple of years, and my tax valuation went up immediately the following next 2 years. And now this last year it's gone up $40,000. Now the free market and the invisible hand of rapacious capitalists shouldn't be tampered with. And why shouldn't a homeowner be able to sell their home to the highest bidder? What Wall Street is doing is it's buying up starter homes to secure permanent renters of aspiring first-time home buyers. Isn't capitalism and the free market wonderful? Yeah, democracy's on life support after Trump's insurrection and failed coup. And now we have recorded conversations between House Minority McCarthy and GOP Representative Liz Cheney about removing Trump from office that McCarthy denied saying. So the GOP is a party that seems to be more comfortable with violence than voting, chaos than competence, indecency than integrity. Now, about this judge who ended the mask mandate, Catherine Kimball Mizell. She's a Trump appointee. Surprise, surprise, surprise. How's that for qualifications? 33 years old. Never tried a case in court. Never been a judge before. Now, the American Bar Association recommends that nominees for federal judgeships have at least 12 years of experience practicing law, while this judge was nominated for a current position with only 8 years after passing the bar exam. And in a letter to the leaders of the Senate Judiciary Committee, the head of the American Bar Association Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary said that the majority of his group had deemed Ms. Mizell did not meet the requisite minimum standards of experience necessary to perform the responsibilities required by the high office of a federal judge. And she didn't hear any arguments. She just made the decisions. So, people complain about the qualifications of the most recent appointee to the Supreme Court, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, and she towers over this lady in terms of qualifications.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you on the qualification standpoint here, but also, I mean, it is one thing to say that, a decision was made hastily, but also another to look at the authority given to an agency to enact temporary restrictions in an emergency capacity that have stretched on for the better part of 2 years. I mean, at a certain point, what does emergency and temporary mean? Because, I mean, sure, there have been some things I agree with, some things I disagree with. Increasingly, ones I find myself disagreeing with in terms of restrictions, pseudo-lockdowns, all of that good stuff here, though I'm getting a little bit of whiplash from all these other topics here. But tell you what, we got to take that top of the hour break right now. Coming out of the break, we'll get to more of these topics and more discussion on them because that's what we do on Fridays here. And delving a bit onto those because, well, this is the time we do it. So, again, stay tuned for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. And your host, Andrew J. Polk. That number to call if you want to chime in yourself, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On the I-10 eastbound, an earlier crash this afternoon is still blocking the left lane and causing a backup. Expect delays right around Trans Mountain. I-10 westbound in the Low Valley with 15-minute delays starting at FM Road 1110 up to Horizon. Police responding to an injury accident. Artcraft and Upper Valley Road take Borderland as an alternate, and a crash with injuries Alameda at Midway. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
The job market is competitive right now. So you need to be competitive to attract top talent. If you're trying to fill open positions at your business, iHeartMedia is here to help. Use radio and digital targeting to find fresh, passive candidates currently in the workforce. These candidates are listening right now, looking for new opportunities. Together, we can let the community know you're hiring. Visit iHeartAdvertising.com. That's
News on the hour and
iHeartAdvertising.com.
the half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Wall Street is awash in red to end the week. The Dow plunged nearly 1,000 points to log its worst day since October 2020. Rising Treasury yields, corporate earnings, and worries about Fed policy sparked Friday's sell-off. Florida's governor has signed a bill stripping Disney World of its special status. With the stroke of a pen by Republican Ron DeSantis, Disney World is no longer a self-governing body and is stripped of its special tax status. The move was in response to Disney's vow to help repeal the state's parental rights in education law, which critics are calling the Don't Say Gay bill.
I think it's interesting that you're getting involved in Florida protecting kindergartners from going to school without having transgender ideology in their curriculum, but you don't say anything about the Communist Party of China with all the atrocities they're committing, and you're making a fortune with them.
The Pentagon press secretary says the U.S. is continuing to send defense support to Ukraine. John Kirby said Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is hoping to establish a long-term solution with other world powers to help fund Ukraine's war with Russia. The JetBlue passenger who former boxing champ Mike Tyson punched has been identified as a Florida man with a long criminal record, and he now has an attorney.
According to TMZ, Melvin Townsend III has previous convictions for fraud, grand theft, burglary, drug possession, and trafficking in stolen property. On Tuesday, Townsend was sitting behind Tyson on a flight from San Francisco to Miami when he began harassing the boxer, who reacted by punching Townsend and leaving him bloodied. Reports say Townsend refused to press charges. I'm Lisa Taylor.
3 days of memorial services for the late Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins have started. Haskins' wife was joined by his friends and Steelers teammates at a 90-minute ceremony held at a Pittsburgh church Friday. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. A handyman charged with killing a New York City mom is reportedly on suicide watch and due back in court next week. Natalie Migliori reports.
44-year-old David Benola is facing several charges for allegedly killing his ex-lover, 51-year-old Orsalia Gall, at her Forest Hills home last Saturday. Residents say it's bad that these things are happening, but
at least we're finding the people that are doing it earlier. I'm just amazed by that.
They had a thing going on for a couple of years, so love is a funny thing.
Benola allegedly stabbed Gall more than 55 times and put her body in a hockey duffel bag that was later found in Forest Park, about a half a mile from her home.
The special White House climate envoy is concerned about the path of climate change and the world's response. Speaking on Earth Day, John Kerry said, "We're fighting the status quo." Kerry cheered President Biden's efforts to create a clean energy economy and criticized reluctance in Congress. Kerry said he understands the frustration over soaring gas prices and cited a massive commitment by the Biden administration to get more electric vehicles on the road as soon as possible. A call for violence reduction is rising in Virginia's capital city. Richard Stelling has more.
Richmond residents are being asked to stand shoulder to shoulder with law enforcement to reduce violence in the city. That's what a federal prosecutor said yesterday during an anti-violence community walk in Highland Park. She joined law enforcement officers from the city, state, and federal governments. They went door to door to stress cooperation in making the streets safer. A Richmond police official tells CBS 6 she wants the community to understand we're not going anywhere.
A Texas fisherman has caught a whopper. He was trolling Lake Jacksonville, which is between Dallas and Houston, when an unusual object popped up on his fish finder. He went underwater this week and, with the help of a tow truck, pulled out a submerged Ford F-150, which was stolen back in 2014. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Cash. That's cash. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by Kelly Blue Book. Kelly Blue Book Instant Cash Offer is an official offer to buy your car. Enter your vehicle ID info, answer some questions, then get a no obligation offer to sell or trade it. Then choose a dealer to purchase your car. Schedule a time and drive away with confidence. For all of the it's kbb.com it.
Hi, Phil Swift here for the Flex Seal family of products. You know, there's a lot of ways to protect your home. You could dig a moat. You could bubble wrap it. Or you could train a pack of wolves to protect it. But the best way is with the Flex Seal family of products. So when you need to patch, bond, seal, repair, and stop leaks fast, get the Flex Seal family of products. Available at flexsealproducts.com and fine retailers.
There's an app for everything. And I bet you have multiple apps on your phone just to order food, get a ride, or even find a date. But we made the iHeartRadio app your all-in-one app. Your favorite music, radio stations, and podcasts together, and all for free. Listen to your favorite radio station anywhere you want, plus all your favorite music and just about every podcast in the world, all in one place with one touch. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
iHeartRadio.
Discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
Join Brian Birds of the Brian Birds Home Selling Team every Sunday morning at 7:30 a.m. for real estate tips with Brian, the best in El Paso when it comes to selling. Brian is an expert in real estate. Listen every Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. on KTSM AM 690 for tips on buying or selling your home, info on what's going on in the market today, and much, much more. Real estate tips with Brian every Sunday morning at 7:30 on KTSM AM 690.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you so very much for joining us here on Friday, and however you're tuning into the show here. I don't talk about it enough here, but we truly do appreciate those of you who are on your way, driving on, hopefully staying safe on those roads, and I hope you find those traffic reports useful as you're making your way, your commute, your Friday festivities as they are, but of course we hold our own here. So if you're wanting to chime in on the show, because as we do celebrate each and every week, Free for All Friday, sacrosanct in our own eyes anyway, that time when we take on all subjects on the call and calls, comments, all that good stuff throughout the program here. A lot of people chiming in over on the social media pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, James Ratcliffe, Michael Pettis, Flaco Jimenez, RJ, Joey Carlson, Maria Coleman, Jay Visconti, John Brazelton a little bit earlier here. We appreciate those comments, some about, other comments to themselves, but hey, that's your prerogative as well, as long as some commentary about, trucks, traffic, travel, trade, all that good stuff here. RJ saying on a previous caller's note here, 50-50 chance the other guy is insured and the truck from Juarez is roadworthy. I mean, there have been some of those. I mean, one of the reasons that we actually have, we've been talking about them a lot in the, marijuana context lately, but those checkpoints north, they're not just necessarily for, illegal substances, but also, less than legal kind of circumstances like that. I mean, there has been one of those longer standing agreements between the U.S. and Mexico about some laxity. Well, that's not quite the right phrase, but some more flexibility on the immediate either side of the border here, even if that doesn't totally work out in practice, and has, changed over the years since that agreement initially got put into place here. So your mileage may vary on that. But again, let's go back to those phone lines right now. The number to call in, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Some more commentary, among other things, for where some people can go and take their opinions here. There's something about opinions like being like behinds. Everyone has one, and most of them stink here. So if you really want to air your hopefully not too dirty laundry, or just give us a call, talk about the important things we are discussing here today. And we are taking on any subject. Just keep it clean, cleaner than maybe my reference just was, by giving us a call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Got those calls on the line here right now. We do have Harry on the east side here with us right now. Harry, thanks for joining us.
Hey, great show. Happy El Paso, and congratulations to Raul and Barbara. I'm glad you put me on here. I want to stumble through my notes, if I might, to counter Raul's argument.
Okay.
Let me say that the leftist socialists and the progressive communists, these are the people behind Joe Biden's policies. Joe Biden is not making these policies. Mark Levin said one time Joe Biden was the dumbest guy in the Senate. So you almost have to believe it. So then consider this. So then I repeat, consider this. And it's not a rhetorical question. No food inflation, no gasoline inflation, no dead military from Afghanistan, 11 Marines, 1 Army, 1 Navy, no war in Ukraine with destroyed cities and dead people all over the street, more than we can count. Our border problems that are more than we care to count.
Mm-hmm.
Changing the face of this country forever, not for the better, i.e., or better for Trump to be in his rightful place in the presidential office, who won the election. Fraud was conducted in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and I can get into that discussion or that seminar with anybody that cares to. So this will be proven. My epilogue, this all goes away if Trump's in office. Thank you.
Interesting point there. I mean, okay, that's a conversation to be had because, again, just technically, Trump is not running for office yet again, even if the campaign has never gone on. I fully expect that we will be kept in this cliffhanger mode up until, well, right before the primaries basically happen. Or maybe a little bit before here. But, I mean, the fundraising is the major focus and is going to be of the former president for probably the next couple of years, better part of at least, and definitely ramping up here into the midterms elections. But, of course, more immediately, we're looking at that pretty well anticipated at this point, essential bloodbath for the party in power when it comes to these midterms, because just historically speaking, completely outside of any, implications of who is currently in place, when approval ratings are this low and people this dissatisfied with, well, what is going on with the party in power, they tend to take it in the shorts in the ensuing midterm elections. I happened to actually be in place, well, the last time that a very similar situation happened. I was actually during a journalism fellowship in Washington, D.C. at the point in time of 2010 when that Tea Party wave came in during those midterm elections of, well, the first term of the Obama administration. And it was a very interesting time to be there. I had a lot of interviews and discussions with some, long-time serving public servants in the, elected offices of Congress and related that were then getting themselves, kicked out because of things relating to those issues and their voting records. And so, I mean, there are some of the very different issues being dealt with now and then. But again, just historically speaking, over time, that, when people are dissatisfied and things are, what's the other phrase? It's the economy, stupid. Things aren't doing as well as people might like with that, even as there's been much touting from this administration of the idea of the highest employment rates, most jobs created. That, for me, rings a little bit hollow, and I got to imagine it does for other people as well, given the circumstances we were in right before we got to this administration. That, I think that we're probably going to see a lot of problems here. So I don't know if this totally leads to a, return to or a different Republican administration, should that be the circumstance that comes in during the next presidential election. But there's a trajectory we can look at here. I feel like I use that phrase a lot here because the best we can kind of forecast where we're going to get, but it's kind of undeniable and pretty obvious that if there isn't something done and something really done, because I can know a lot of people that held their noses for this administration saying, not my favorite guy, but I'll go along with it and we'll hold him accountable, that are then very much feeling not that even rosy anymore.
Yeah, on the lighter side, to leave the good folks here, I went to McDonald's this morning and I got 2 Egg McMuffins, 2 senior coffees, and a cinnamon roll, $13. Hey, listen, I'm going to Albertsons, buy all the Rumyon I can get, because before it's all over, we're going to be eating Rumyon. And Raul, Barbara, and Andrew, and myself, you better keep Pancho Villa's stash house open because we might end up down there. Have a good weekend, Andrew.
All right, thanks for the point of the call. You have a good one as well. Appreciate it. All right, we'll get to more calls on the line here because this is what we do here on Fridays. Here again, we'll take on any subject. I mean, we still have that focus on what it means here in the borderland, but we got some bigger fish to fry sometimes here, and some comments coming in here as well as, again, nature of comments from some people. Also, those Monica Cervantes dropping that like along with Juan and Flaco Jimenez along over on the Facebook page. Do appreciate that. Flaco Jimenez asking, what I'm assuming is slightly rhetorical there, what is the biggest difference between Republicans and Democrats? If you want an actual answer there, if you're just getting a setup for a punchline, let me know in the comments over there. Let's get to more of the calls here. Right now, we do have Frankie and Messia here with us. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right, happy Friday, everybody. Right out of the box, let me say this. I heard that Barbara girl last night, 10 minutes and 47 seconds she was talking, and then she made this comment about a bunch of paper on a desk as proof of the pudding for something Donnie Dotard was saying. Well, let me tell you something, Barbara. That stack of paper was nothing but empty reams, 500-page reams of typing paper from Walmart. Get real. Anyway, I want to talk about political courage.
Okay.
Profiles of political courage. Where is it today? You got, just recently, this nut job, Craven McCruddy. He's the GOP minority leader of the House of Representatives. And it's been proven that he wanted that Donnie Dotard to resign. You got Mitch Moscow McCrapple said the same thing. And all of a sudden, they flipped. Because why? Because their constituents said, hey, no, you can't do that. Oh, we're going to vote you out of office. Well, guess what? That's what they should do. Just vote them out of office and then keep your integrity intact. I don't know what is going on right now with our political leaders to where they go on, and they just, because of their own selfish interests, have to stay in this power. What is it with this position, being a representative, a senator, or whatever the heck it is, that they've got to sit there and then just throw their entire worth, their individual worth out the window just to stay into that job? My point is, we need to make public service painful. You get elected, we're going to beat you to death, and you'll do the right job. And if you don't do the right job, oh my God, you're out. That's it. That's my comment. No profiles of courage. I don't know whatever happened to that. That's my comment.
So two things come to mind there with the whole conversation about term limits. I have historically been mildly opposed to the idea of term limits, if only because of the power it would then give special interest. But I'm starting to change my thinking a little bit on that, because I almost wonder if maybe that can be worked into it. But I mean, we got more issues that I think that come from exactly what you're talking about here, that the impetus to stay in power, overriding anything to then be done with that power, and it just self-serving nature of it. But I think one overlooked part that actually comes up with that first part you're mentioning there is the fact that a lot of conversation comes down to, I mean, we've asked this question on this program previously, what does it take to be considered a Republican currently, and can you consider yourself one and as actually a functioning member of the party if you do not support Donald Trump, the former president? And I think we lost Frankie there. But the larger question then I think comes down to is it's not just a pro-Trump or never-Trumpers. I think there's this whole segment in the middle that comes down to there were a lot of people that were very clearly opposed and not really happy about that presidency, Mitch McConnell among them, that, essentially held their nose or thought that they could get something out of it. It's not like, I might not like this administration, what it's going about, its policies, but I think I can get what I want out of it, politically speaking. And I think, McConnell was one of those. I mean, that's not exactly a hard stretch, but I think that there were others, even within the party itself here, that had a similar kind of thought process behind them, that they could use this, that they liked the boost they were seeing in the polls, among other things, that came from the, otherwise discouraged, disenfranchised, not regular voters. Because another thing you got to remember is that one of the things that the former president kind of ignored was the regular election process, in which I mean going to the regular base of voters, courting them, making sure they like him. He kind of came with his own, because I mean, there may have been blips on the radar previously, the whole, reality show appearances that happened, but those blips weren't exactly a bug. They were a feature of the way campaigning were going on. So really, there we've seen a sea change in how politics could happen. Whether that maintains and the, career politicians allow that to continue remains to be seen. I mean, there's still some talk out there on kind of the fringes of the otherwise conservative movement about needing to have someone else in place, and we'll see how that breaks down. But really, the popularity and then the money that comes with it. I mentioned that before. I think that's pretty key to, the future of potential Trump administration effectively. So essentially, to your main question, where the profile is encouraged, we're not getting a whole lot of that from either side of the aisle here lately. Got to be honest with you. Either none really willing to step up and step down. I mean, you might have some that you're going to point out to on some of the more well-publicized Biden administration efforts. But even beyond that, I do think that we have a lot of people that are, again, very interested, because if you really want to even get down to it, I mean, I know Manchin of West Virginia comes up a lot, that this might be just more of analysis of him wanting to keep his job than really having I don't actually agree with the position going on here. So there might be something needing to be done on that. But we pretty quickly get to Article 1, Section 1 kind of stuff out of the Constitution if you're wanting to change those processes, and a longer conversation there. So do appreciate the point in the call. I think you got cut off there towards the end here. But again, we're doing that today, Free for All Friday, taking those comments and calls throughout the hour. So we got to take that next break right now. So coming out of the break, we'll get to more of these calls, more of these comments, more of the discussion about, the issues of the day here, as we do here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot more comments, a lot more discussion, a lot more stuff we will get to. So we'll talk more about this after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso. Even if you're worried about these events of the day that we're talking about, a good resource for you to, get yourself taken care of regardless. Good grooming is not something to be missed if you got the ability to do so. And where I trust all the hairs on my head, literally, is to Gentleman's Republic, the literal hair and beard sponsor of the show here, because that's where I've been going. And even on the occasion of my anniversary coming up here, essentially had my bachelor party with them back in the day, because, they are a place where you can truly feel like a king for a day, because they combine the traditional arts of barbering and also the experts in men's grooming that they come with hair, beard, and more services, and adding on some of your favorite spa-type services. That you really got to see their full menu of what they've got available, plus just the ambiance. I mean, they're in a beautiful old Trost building, and they got the sensibilities of your favorite watering hole. They got a cold one for you on tap, or I like getting a nice iced drink and then going to get myself taken care of. So the do you see me sporting, direct responsible for them, and that's what I trust with all of the services that I need from them. Plus, don't forget, even as we're coming up on prom season here at the end of it, they still got those prom packages. So give them a call at 915-532-3000, 915-532-3000. Or find them online at gentsrepublic.com. That again, gents, GENTS, republic.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
El Paso Fire's on the scene of a big crash. Artcraft at Upper Valley, and it's causing a lot of slowing. Stop and go bumper-to-bumper traffic on Artcraft from Upper Valley over to the 10. Try to avoid Artcraft altogether. Maybe take Borderland Road instead. Gateway Boulevard westbound at Loma Land, an accident reported there. On the I-10 eastbound at Trans Mountain, an earlier crash still has the left lane blocked. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
It's $1,000 in your hand.
$1,000. $1,000.
No NFTs or ESGs. It's $1,000 straight to you.
That is awesome.
Listen every hour from 9 through 5 weekdays for your chance to win.
$1,000 in your hand is brought to you by Approved Auto. Drive out in your new ride in less than an hour. Get payments as low as $159 a month. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. If you got your license and you got a job, they smell a deal. The deals are sweeter at Approved Auto, 8498 Alameda.
This report is sponsored by Gila River Hotels and Casinos.
Your moment has arrived at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Phoenix, Arizona's newest resort. It's time to own your moment, so you do you. For more information, visit playatgila.com.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is a leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Hey, Mario Courtney Lopez here. We know life's moments are definitely better together.
And Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to always be ready to make the most of these moments.
Whether in studio, on the red carpet, or around the house, have having the confidence to get close is amazing.
Our lives are better together with Smart Mouth. Just 2 rinses a day means fresh breath for 24 hours.
Find it at your favorite drug, grocery, or supercenter store, or save 20% at smartmouth.com/radio.
Research shows people remember radio ads that remind them of the past. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here's an ad that'll really take you back.
Back in my day, I heard a voice from the radio say, Liberty Mutual customizes my home insurance so I only pay for what I need. I'm getting on in years now, but heavens to Betsy, there are some things an old fella like me just never forgets.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
If you work remote, Staples has you covered.
A mid-mod desk chair to rejuvenate my ho-hum workspace.
Staples has you covered.
A gaming chair for a serious competitor.
A super stylish desk that will save me space and money.
Staples has you covered with remote workspace products and design tips curated by Jasmine Roth and Staples Work From Home Style Squad. Now save up to $100 on select chairs. Explore solutions for your remote workspace at Staples, the working and learning store. Ends 4/30. Limit 2 in-store only.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming in, a lot of calls because, well, among other things, that's what we do today. Friday is the time when we do that free-for-all Friday thing, and we take on all comments and calls throughout the hour. So, well, both hours, but remainder of this hour as well, what we got on deck here. So we got a lot of calls, a lot of comments, a lot of likes and shares, reacts, all that good stuff here. Monica Cervantes, Jew Ann, Flaco Jimenez, and Tim Boynton Sr. dropping those reacts over on the Facebook page. We do appreciate it. It helps with those algorithmic stuffs and, well, getting more people involved in the conversation, which is kind of important. I mean, in the long run here, we'll still do what we can with people that show up, but showing up is kind of important as well. So anyway, some more of the comments coming in here about parties, among other things here. RJ with something slightly pessimistic. You're in Banana Land, America. New lockdown or cyber attack on the grid keeps the Democrats in power here. Yeah, I don't know how many people would actually buy that. Well, things are too messed up right now. We can't have an election or any of that kind of thing. That's the red line for a lot of people, among other things. And just a lot of commentary along those lines. Flaco Jimenez saying the biggest difference is that Republicans can live just fine without Democrats, whereas Democrats could not survive without Republicans. That's all you need to know. Though some further commentary from James Ratcliffe coming on that. Then also in response to the recent call here, Ion Grimm saying if they aren't doing their job, get them out. Of course, you mean Democrats, right? You aren't just referring to Republicans. I would love to say that, yes, that would be the idea, though I think there was a little bit of a, shall we say, particular look on one party or the other there. But, I mean, that should be the general principle. But given that whole people hate Congress, people love their congressperson in general, as a general rule, maybe not specifically in any circumstances, part of the problem and part of the issue here and why Congress is so historically unliked. So there might be some better solutions on the table there here, but let's talk further about it here. Right now, we actually do have on the line here Ray Baca, chairman of the El Paso County Republican Party. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Andrew. How are you?
Doing all right. How are you today?
Well, I'm great. I tuned in a little late, so I didn't catch all of what you were talking about. A few minutes ago, you mentioned two things that certainly caught my attention I wanted to comment on.
Oh, absolutely.
One is term limits. You know, I don't think that the framers ever intended our Congress to be a career. The idea is you're a citizen statesman, you go do your term, then you go back home. And the best way to solve that is, since I don't think we'll ever get them to vote for term limits, is to get enough people to vote for reducing their pensions, for getting rid of them altogether. I mean, the incentive to be there a few years, after a couple of years, you start getting these really nice pensions.
That's true.
You say, what the heck? I'll stay and, live out my life. And amazingly, so many of them end up making a fortune while you're there. Figure that out. The other point that you made that caught my attention was, do you have to love Trump to be a Republican? And the answer is no. We have lots of Republicans that we supported him. He was our president. We think he did a wonderful job in spite of all the rough edges. But there's also a few, and myself would be in this, that are really hoping he doesn't run. And not that we don't want to see him. It's that he just carries too much lightning baggage that the the Trump haters just cannot see beyond. And we need them. We need their votes. So I'm hoping he'll have said, I've done it. I don't want to do it again, but I want to be a kingmaker. And he wants to stay involved. And he anoints Mr. DeSantis or someone like him and supports someone like him so that the people who do support Trump will support, let's say, DeSantis. But those that say, no, I'm not crazy about him, and I'd rather see someone else. Now, that said, if there is a primary, an open primary, and various people run, including himself, and he runs and he wins, and I'm backing him 100%. That's the way it should be. It shouldn't be a party that says, well, I want this candidate, but if he doesn't win, I'm not going to play. You're either conservative or you're not. You're either Republican or you're not. So you should support the Republican platform and the Republican point of view. And if you do, you should support the candidate, whoever wins it fair and square, as he did last time. So those are the 2 points I wanted to share with your audience. I appreciate your letting me get in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, very relevant here. It is interesting that you suggest that whole kingmaker role because, among other things, that would fit just thematically a little bit better with, well, essentially his previous more public experience. I mean, there are definitely shades of The Apprentice that come to mind in that kind of a scenario.
Absolutely. I mean, if you stop and think about it, he lost money during his presidency for the personal side. And, outside of all the accolades that go with it, who really would want that? This job, you're just never going to be in a position where everyone's going to be happy. And I'm hoping he sees that. He says, I can serve this country better by stepping aside and letting someone else take the reins.
It's an interesting suggestion here. Of course, I think the only person that has the answer to that question will be the former president himself here. And I have that I think we have that sneaking suspicion that we're going to be on the hook for that decision being announced up until maybe not right before the primary, but probably within, throwing distance of it.
I'm certain you are correct, sir. I mean, he's enjoying it. He likes attention, no question about it, and he likes to maintain his options. So he will wait till the very last minute before he publicly declares whether he intends to run or not. And if he intends to run, I don't know who would have the courage to run against him. But if someone does, we'll listen to him. If you want to go back 4 years, there was a lot of people that had other preferences. My personal preference 4 years ago, before he won the primary, was Ted Cruz. I liked the way Ted Cruz talked and what he said, and I liked his principles. But when Ted couldn't quite get the votes and Trump did, I said, okay, that's the way we're going to go. And I was behind him 100%. And I will be again should someone else win that primary this year. This next year, anyway, not this year.
Well, yeah, 2024 here. I mean, I think, what was it? Bill Weld was the last one that tried, and, well, that didn't exactly work out in his favor. So there have been some that have been willing to, but honestly, that leads to an interesting discussion that may be a little bit more speculative even than what we've gone into here. That, I mean, up until DeSantis started doing some of his recent actions and really started moving in his own way, there was talk about, and even some appearances by the former president in the state that would have supported the idea of Texas Governor Greg Abbott being a not quite heir apparent, since again, apparent is not going to be a part of it here, but DeSantis, as you mentioned here, now kind of at the forefront as an alternate. I think that'll be an interesting another situation to keep your eye on as we go through these next couple of years about the moves being made by these and probably some other ones that will try to become prominent in the meantime.
That's always a possibility. I love our governor. He's been a great governor. I don't know if he has national ambitions. For that matter, I don't know that DeSantis does. But, we're going to back whoever we support, whoever ends up putting the nomination. And hopefully we will win that election and help get this country back on track.
Again, those, among other things, coming up with that midterm election, be one to keep an eye on. So, well, thank you very much for calling in and adding your perspective to the conversation.
You bet. Our focus now is on the Congress, trying to get the Congress back in Republican hands. And we're working very hard in El Paso for that as well. We're pushing Irene Armendariz Jackson, obviously. She's our choice, and we're working very hard to get her elected.
I wouldn't fully expect anything from the party that you are a part of and the support you'd be looking at here in town here. So, well, thank you very much for the call. You have a good one.
You bet. You too. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, we got more calls on the line here that we're definitely going to get to, but we got to take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, there was a slightly shorter segment there. Coming out of this break, we'll get to more calls, comments, commentary on the line here. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number to call, 915 544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. A Texas National Guard member drowned while trying to rescue a group of migrants who tried to cross the Rio Grande in the area of Eagle Pass, Texas. The sheriff of Maverick County says the tragic incident happened this morning at about 8:30. According to the sheriff, a small group of migrants was crossing the Rio Grande when a woman from the group started to drown. The soldier is said to be 23 years old, but has not been identified. And El Paso Federal Bureau of Investigations agents and the U.S. Border Patrol El Paso sector rescued 24 people who were being held against their will. The FBI and U.S. Border Patrol officials said they continue to see an increase in crimes involving kidnapping for ransom, extortion crimes directly affecting undocumented immigrants who have paid human smugglers to bring them across the U.S.-Mexico border and their family members in the U.S. or their country of origin. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 eastbound is slow because of a crash that is blocking the left lane still. I-10 southbound at Trans Mountain. Gateway Boulevard westbound at Airway, an accident reported. Stop-and-go traffic on Artcraft because of an earlier crash. El Paso Fire still on the scene there. You can expect 15-minute delays on Artcraft right now. From Upper Valley over to Donovan. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Our wind maker continues to bring us not only strong winds and a warm day, but also some blowing dust. And this will continue into the late night hours tonight before those winds slowly decrease through the day. Also, look for a cooler air mass behind this system to bring temperatures back to near normal, near 80 for Saturday.
This report is sponsored by Brakemasters.
Before your day is done, Brakemasters has already helped thousands of people get back to their families safely. Get your vehicle in Brakemasters shape. Download coupons at Brakemasters.com. Only then can you say your day is done.
Brakemasters. We give you an honest break.
Lavinia presents its Spring Wine Festival, Saturday, April 30th and Sunday, May 1st from noon to 7. Over 20 wines available for tasting and purchase. Live music, local art and craft vendors, delicious Southwestern food. Get all the information at laviniawinery.com.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland. Whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development, the El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Help DEA keep our community safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, April 30th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your family medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. To find a collection site near you, visit DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. Visit DEATakeback.com. That's DEATakeback.com.
As you drive through Texas, keep in mind that Don't Mess with Texas actually means don't litter. Keep Texas roads clean and beautiful by holding on to your litter until you can get to a trash can. Always keep a litter-free state of mind and don't mess with Texas. A message brought to you by TxDOT. This report is sponsored by the Texas Department of Transportation.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Just as a brief refresher here, if you want to leave us messages ahead of future shows here, I got the pound 250 system, of course, and that's you dial pound 250 on your cell phone. Literally, those four things, pound 250. Call it, ring like a phone number. If you ask to say a keyword, just say Talk El Paso. Leave us a message day or night here. But again, also through, as we got up on screen right now, through the iHeartRadio app, that little red button that shows up next to the stop and start button, the stop and play button, I guess I should say, that little microphone looking thing, that's the talkback feature, and you can leave us messages through that. And it might pay to make yourself familiar with that. Just saying, we got some things in the work for you that might involve some contesting with that in the near future. So just keep that in mind here, because we'll have a lot more coming up with that before too long. You got some people starting to give it a use here, but just stay tuned. We'll have more coming up in future shows along those lines here. So getting back to the calls and comments on the line right now. James Ratcliffe, Ion Graham, Flaco Jimenez, RJ, Louis Panado, Michael Perez, and more tuning in, chiming in over online here, and also dropping those reacts. We do appreciate it. Monica Cervantes, Joanne, Flaco Jimenez, and Tim Bowington Sr. But let's go back to those calls right now. Again, the number to call 915-544-5876-544 KTSM. We do have Stephen on the east side here with us right now. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew.
Hey there. What's on your mind?
So, yeah, I kind of want to agree with the previous caller. You know, I didn't vote for Donald Trump in the primaries and, you know, wanted someone else. And I actually thought that in terms of policy, he was going to do worse. And in terms of personality style, he was going to do better. But when it really comes to what matters, which, you know, things that are policies that are actually going to affect our lives, Donald Trump actually did a good job with that. But I agree, again, that the divisiveness that may come from, you know, another candidacy of Donald Trump and is maybe a little bit more too much for the country to handle. I mean, we've seen the rise of this kind of Trump derangement syndrome, which, you know, we hear some callers from time to time who clearly have that, and multiply that by millions. I mean, maybe these people are unstable to begin with, but there's something about Trump and not being a polished politician and just kind of saying things off the cuff that helps people spin kind of narratives that really make him easy to demonize. And so you get all these people with this derangement syndrome that is maybe not healthy for the country. So I think it would be better to have someone a little bit more polished in terms of being careful about what they say and not cause kind of that divisiveness. Now, that being said, a lot of these issues are not really based on reality. Like we've come to see that this whole idea that Donald Trump was a Russian asset or was, you know, put into office by Putin and all that stuff, all that was nonsense. The idea that Donald Trump is a white supremacist and, oh, there were good people on both sides supposedly giving support to white supremacists, that's all nonsense. The idea that he was trying to prevent Ukraine from getting military aid and all that, that was all nonsense once we got the transcript. So a lot of the things that those narratives were spun out of were not based in reality, but there's so much, like the previous caller said, baggage there that it might be nice to start with a clean slate in terms of getting another politician in there. And the final point I was going to make was the whole election fraud idea. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that happened in the previous election was actually, you know, in a gray area. You know, Zuckerberg spent millions and millions of dollars. They did maybe some ballot harvesting, and, you know, maybe it's technically legal. So you would have to come up with some hardcore evidence of fraud, and in order to really bring that up and make that an issue. And if you don't have that hardcore evidence, you should probably drop it, because once you separate the ballot from the envelope, it's basically untraceable. So, so you can't go back in time and prove anything. And, you know, maybe people will learn from their mistakes and allowing that to happen in the first place. But, you know, there's no point in pushing it if you can't come with hardcore evidence. And I think that would be another error of his candidacy.
Potentially, just to your initial point there about the potential for a different candidate, there's only real, at least from this standpoint right now here in, late in April of 2022, of how that could really go down. And if that would be something that he says, I give my full faith and endorsement to the candidate here, and kind of a handoff that way. Because if it was all contested, I don't see that ending well, because it's hard to deny that the former president had his own essential built-in audience. It's one of the reasons he was able to weather kind of some of those, issues and other attacks that happened during the previous administration, because he wasn't relying on the traditional support network of supporters and donators and all those kind of things in order to actually get his stuff through. So that was part of the anomaly of the last presidency, I got to say. And if that is not addressed in this next primary process, if there's, I guess, any writ large chicanery, essentially, of, you didn't just get quiet enough here, or we changed the rules, that kind of a thing, that's going to take off a whole lot of people. And I think, again, a lot of those people finding themselves maybe in the middle of not hardcore supporter, but also not in the never Trumper camp, of saying like, we kind of relied on that support now, of, not willing to go that far. But even further than that, I think when you're talking about the actual election, the issues with it, that the biggest and most succinct issues that I saw were with the way, state law, some of these court decisions were made right in the immediate nature and immediate relation to how these elections went down, which is why we've been seeing a lot of legislative efforts to, essentially close that kind of thing here. So, there is a conversation to be had there, and there are some legitimate things to come up, but otherwise, I think a little bit of sideshow nature ends up coming with it, and why, among other things, we focus on policy when we look at candidates, because that's what's going to end up being the most important to, as you said, impacting on our lives here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people should always focus on. Of course, they don't. They like to come up with these distractions and things about his personality or whatever it is. But in reality, what should really matter to us is what kind of legislation is going to get through, what kind of policies are going to actually affect our daily lives. And hopefully those things are based in reality, because if you're going to start pushing some things that, I guess the energy policy is an example, the immigration, energy policy, when it comes to, people actually think that they're actually going to be able to change the climate, change the weather by buying oil from Saudi Arabia as opposed to using U.S. oil. When it comes to immigration, if you are against people coming over here by the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands illegally, then you must be a racist. Things that aren't really based in reality. The Democrats, what they are good at is spinning those narratives, demonizing people who don't agree with them in terms of policy, and maybe at least half of the country kind of believes those kind of narratives and goes along with them. So they've been good at that, but when the rubber hits the road, which it finally is at this point, with monetary policy, printing a bunch of money, spending all that money, the inflation, now the rubber's hitting the road, and I think people are going to wake up, and maybe even a lot of minorities are going to wake up and say, wait, these policies don't actually help us. Now instead of, old school slavery, now we're slaves to the government in terms of just getting paid welfare for a meager existence, as opposed to policies that would actually help us get out of that and actually strengthen our families and strengthen our communities, and better education, having school choice, which Republicans have pushed for, getting these poor kids out of these failing public schools and not get them a better education so they can do better for themselves, rather than depending on the government to essentially buy their votes to vote for Democrats. It's been really sad. I think more people are waking up.
I certainly hope so, and I would encourage people more paying attention. Just let me put it shortly this way, that I doubt the culture will end anytime soon here, but we're talking about the previous election and the turnout of it, and the point you were making about impact of certain personalities on it. I'm not going to comment on legitimacy of any particular vote or the total vote turnouts here, but what I will say, something I'm pretty certain about, is that there were a whole lot more votes against, on the Democrat side, against the former president than there were for the current administration. So dealing with that issue, you might have a point.
Thanks, Andrew. Have a good weekend.
You too. Have a good one there. I think we have time for one more quick one before we hit that next break here. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank Thank you. Andrew, today the FBI and the Border Patrol rescued 24 people, or rather it came out recently today on Fox News that 24 people were rescued after being held against their will.
Yep, that was in our news reports from our partners over at KFOX 14 today. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. And it has also been said by the FBI and Border Patrol that they are seeing an increase in kidnapping for ransom and extortion crimes. Anyway, that's what happens when you have an open border policy, even though you don't admit it, and you do nothing to control the border.
I mean, the impacts that we see in this community are, well, that's why we've been talking about it so damn much lately, because it's been an issue. It's not any secret that it has been. And yeah, some of the increased criminal activity may be playing into that, but I mean, really just the potential. And then when you kind of set the stage for it, even if unintentionally, like you said, or not admitting it anyway, I mean, if we're not dealing with the real consequences here, as a previous caller, rubber hitting the road, we're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yes, yes. Oh, and Raul, I'd like to know what Beto O'Rourke, how he's going to address, or has he mentioned anything on how he would address this border issue, other than inviting people for a banquet?
I mean, the most recent thing he said, I mean, not speaking for Raul here by any means here, but just in the analysis we've seen and done here, I mean, he has come out as not liking Title 42, but also not liking the removal of Title 42 without something else in place. But again, the fleeting answer that we're not getting really from anyone, O'Rourke included here, has been what then goes in place instead. And well, you can draw some conclusions based on his previous statements here, but an actual concrete plan, even on this standpoint, I'd appreciate even being able to see it, analyze, and talk about it. We're kind of missing that as well.
Well, his comments on Title 42, that's just political pandering, because he knows that's a big hot issue.
Oh, yeah.
If he were governor, he'd probably be in agreement with Biden's retracting Title 42.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. He's been somewhat responsive in the past when he was saying, like, let's tear down all the wall. There were the people even locally saying, maybe not, dude. And you ended up pulling back on that. But, well, it's been a minute since we've seen an actual in-office O'Rourke administration at any level. So I think there's a little bit of the speculation that is required whenever we're talking about what he'd actually do if elected.
Okay. Okay. Great. One more thing, Andrew. Just to mention, Georgia is now the 25th state to pass constitutional carry. So it's a topic with Beto that I think is slowly fading.
We'll see. I mean, he has come along that, well, I'm fully in support of the Second Amendment. Well, we've talked about that before here. So we'll see how this conversation evolves here. Ball's kind of in his court. I mean, he has to be on the offense throughout most of this campaign. Otherwise, he doesn't have even less of a snowball's chance in HE double hockey sticks. So we'll keep our eye on it for sure.
Thank you. I turn the mic over to you. Take care.
I appreciate it. You have a good weekend there. Appreciate the point in the call. That's going to take us overdue for this next break. We're going to come back out of this break, squeeze in what we can, talk about what we got coming up next week. A little bit of a teaser for this weekend here. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso. You're on News Radio 690 KTSM. Back in a minute.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Hawkins. Watch for a crash on the Hawkins Boulevard entrance ramp to the Gateway. Artcraft Road is bumper to bumper between Upper Valley and Donovan because of a crash there. I-10 eastbound at Trans Mountain. A crash there has got the left lane blocked. And I-10 westbound at Sunland Park. Watch for a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If your company needs to spring into efficient hiring, then check out Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager from Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you, El Paso and surrounding areas, for helping us be El Paso's #1 dealer in new Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram sales in March. As a gesture of our gratitude, we've extended all our Ram Truck Month deals, like 0 down, 0% interest for 72 months and no payments for 90 days.
Buy now and save thousands on a huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned vehicles. 2022 Ram trucks with 0 APR for 72 months. All new 2022 Jeep Wagoneer, full-size SUV with third row seats kidding. 0 APR for 72 months. 0 payments for 90 days. We've partnered with even more aggressive lenders with great rates and terms, even if your credit is less than perfect. And we want your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. All military personnel and all first responders receive an additional discount. Thank you for your service. Solid Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. We're buying a car is fun at I-10 at Solid Park Drive or online at solidparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso, El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 0 APRs, $13.89 per thousand finance. All select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Check it out, Limu, a roadside carnival.
Step right up, folks. Test your strength. Come see the fire-breathing baby.
Let's fan out and tell people that Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Look, an emu wearing sunglasses.
Limu, you're famous. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Comfort Keepers Las Cruces is now hiring. Call 575-521-4400.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Rounding the bend here on the last segment of our last show for this week, but don't be worried. We'll, of course, be back here next week with more talk about the issues affecting us here in the borderland, including planning on some things. I mean, last-minute changes may happen, but we'll just slight more focus on some of those, midterm primaries coming up here, including focus on the AG's office. So if you're familiar with the candidates there, you can make your own, conclusions about who we'll be talking with. So stay tuned with all of that here. I mean, things might be in flux, visits are chaotic, but we're working on some things for you. And of course, more focus on some of the investigative reporting in our region, as well as more on some of the events coming up here. I mean, there's still good things to talk about. We'll interject those as we can here. And then, of course, for the El Paso History Radio Show coming up this weekend, we're going to be talking with historian Heribert von Feilich about how essentially the Mexican Revolution and the aftermath of it and the impact it had on our area led to, among other things, the development of the modern FBI as we know it, or at least the genesis of it. So that'll be coming up this weekend, 10 to noon here on News Radio 690 KTSM. But we've got time for one more call on the line here. We do have Ben on the east side here with us. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. Have a good weekend. We know how Raul and the liberals and MSNBC, CNN, everybody knows, how they feel about Trump and everything. But, that's kind of past things. Has anybody, I've never heard anybody actually ask any of these people, do they really believe that Biden is competent as the president of the United States? I mean, I hear it on conservative radio. Everybody talks about, his competence, but I never hear it on NPR. I never hear it on MSNBC. Raul never, comments on Biden's competency. I would like to know what his feelings about Biden's competency is.
I mean, that gets the closest we've gotten specifically to that question with having addressed it to him directly was that B or B- rating he's given the administration here. So I guess you can kind of wrap it up in that here. But again, I will just say personally, I kind of dislike the armchair mental capacity analysis being done of the past couple of presidencies, even though there is reasonable questions to be asked about the septuagenarian and octogenarian rule we have seemed to have found ourselves in these last couple of decades.
Yeah, well, I just would like to have some of these liberals just to have that question posed to them. The other thing is, Barbara talked about how we shouldn't allow, we should have more medical freedom, that we don't have to talk to our politicians about things. I agree with that. Let's let doctors be doctors. The last thing that we need is having a politician. Let politicians be politicians. They can talk about, military. They can talk about economy, things like that. But let doctors be the doctors, and and that would have made it to where we wouldn't have half the things that are going on right now.
I think you got a good point there. So we'll have to get into that in future shows here. So I thank you for the point in the call. We are out of time here for this one. So don't worry. We'll do this again Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Everyone, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when on the road, and have a great weekend, y'all. We'll see you again here Monday, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't forget, of course, to tune in for the El Paso History Radio Show this weekend, 10 to noon Saturday. But otherwise, have a great weekend, y'all. See you when we see you.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Hawkins, an accident with injuries is blocking the entrance ramp and the right lane there. Expect backups. There's a crash that's blocking the left lane on I-10 eastbound at Trans Mountain. And you got stop-and-go traffic on Artcraft because of an injury accident, Upper Valley Road at Artcraft. Traffic is bumper to bumper with 15-minute delays on Artcraft right now. Over to the 10. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
As a marketer, you want to reach everyone. Adults, teens, millennials. But it's not like these groups all hang out in the same place, right? Actually wrong. They're all right here, listening to radio commercials just like this one. Radio ads connect with 93% of Americans every week. That's more than Google, more than Facebook, more than TV. In fact, radio reaches 20% more millennials than TV. Want more of the people you want to talk to all in one place? Visit iHeartAdvertising.com and get AM/FM working for you. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
All day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Stocks are sharply lower to end the week on Wall Street. Rising bond rates, disappointing corporate earnings, and fears of aggressive Fed rate hikes fueled Friday's sell-off. All three major averages lost more than 2.5% as the Dow chalked up its worst day since October 2020. President Biden is talking about his plans to reduce the costs of prescription drugs. Speaking at Green River College in Auburn, Washington, the president announced he wants Congress to limit the price of insulin to $35 a month, which is 3 times what it costs to make the drug.
If you're on Medicare, you won't have to spend more than $2,000 out of pocket, which is a lot of money.
Biden also wants an oversight process for increases in drug prices, and he wants to give Medicare the authority to negotiate drug prices. Former President Trump claims Russia feels emboldened as it invades Ukraine because of U.S. actions during the Obama-Biden administration. While on the Sean Hannity show, Trump said Obama and Biden allowed Russia to create a powerful alliance. Trump predicted the next threat for the world will be China. There's a recall being issued for some air fryers bought at Best Buy. Sandy Collins has the details.
If you have an air fryer bought at Best Buy, you may want to check the Consumer Product Safety Commission's voluntary recall. They're pulling back 770,000 of the air fryers and air fryer ovens after getting over 100 reports of air fryers catching fire, melting, or burning. The brand being recalled is Insignia Digital Air Fryers and Insignia Digital Air Fryer Ovens, sold between November of 2018 and February of this year. Details on the CPSC website. I'm Sandy Collins.